A boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. On Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. Ho, ho, ho.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know there's 201 days until Christmas 2024. Oh, and today we have a community stream. This is the opportunity for you to come and talk about your thoughts on any Star Wars topic. To that point, there's a couple of things just want to bring to your attention. The first is tomorrow, we're finally going to get that Hasbro Star Wars HasLab reveal. That was, I saw that Yakface posted it yesterday, and I posted something to my Discord about it today. So, or last night. So if you are have been waiting for that, like many of us have been, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, we will have that HasLab reveal. Now, there's no secret, I don't think at this point. It's the Cantina from the original trilogy from A New Hope, the Cantina Vintage Collection set. And hopefully that reveal will be tomorrow as scheduled, and we'll see how popular it is. I've got a little friendly wager with my friend Baymax. Baymax is a collector, and we have a wager. If this HasLab project, the Cantina scene from A New Hope, funds with as many or more supporters than the Ghost, which was the last Vintage Collection HasLab project, the Ghost from Rebels, and now Ahsoka also has made appearances in The Rise of Skywalker and Rogue One. But the Ghost, if it funds with more supporters, then I owe Baymax a Vintage Collection blurg. If it does not, then Baymax owes me a Vintage Collection blurg, because Santa is super hyped about the blurgs. So there's that. That's going to come. We do have, again, as I mentioned, today is the community stream. This is the chance where you can, if you're one of our supporters on Patreon, or one of our channel members on YouTube, then you can find a link where you can join today's show. You can talk about the Acolyte. You can talk about your Vintage Collection figures. You can talk about your Lego collection, whatever it is you would like to talk about with Star Wars related. Of course, today, the Acolyte is going to lead because we just had our reveal. And of course, there's all kinds of discussion all over the interwebs about the Acolyte. So that's today's schedule. But if you would like to join, that's how you can do so. And I see we've got some friends in the chat. Good to see you all. Matt Cave Gaming, good to see you. Oh, Matt Cave Gaming. He's got a good channel. He's a good guy too. It's nice to meet really good people here in this Star Wars community. And even if we disagree on things, good people are good people, right? So Matt Cave Gaming, good to see you there. Real Ben Maynard, there's another good guy. We've been chatting in DMs over the last 12 hours or so. Good to see you as well, Ben. And Kay, hello. There was a predictions game. I posted it out there. I tried my best to get it on all the places where you could find it. But yeah, you missed the first ones. That's okay, Kay. You're pretty good at this. And if you want to participate in episode 3 of the Acolyte predictions, those will be released soon. I will get that predictions out there. And of course, Nerd Mafia. This guy. What about this guy? You know? Well, I'll tell you something about him. He's in the backstage waiting for me to let him in. So here he is. When can I expect to ship that ghost set? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. What else do we got here in the chat? Getting caught up on things. Real Ben says, just a heads up. I'm not a mobile gamer whatsoever, but all my friends who play Star Wars Hunters are saying it's a good game for anyone who does play mobile. I've got some things I do on mobile. I don't really get into games too much. I play Clash of Clans a lot. But outside of that, dabble here and there with some little things. There you go. Yeah, Nerd Mafia is in the workshop. That's right. Sabersmith, thank you for the comment, the compliment. That's very nice. It is hard out here for Star Wars fans. And boy, oh boy, is it. And I'll bring my friend Nerd Mafia in here in just a moment. But dadgummit, you know, if it ain't bad, it's worse. That's the way it is in this on the interwebs. And it's tough to be a fan of something. You know, I've been watching a lot of stuff on the WNBA with Caitlin Clark and people who've been following the WNBA for years. I haven't. What do I care? But anyway, Caitlin Clark, she caught my attention. I've been watching just little things on it. And there are people who cover the WNBA for like years who say that is unbearable in that community right now. It's tough to cover it because of the interwebs. And I can believe it because as a Star Wars fan in the interwebs, and I don't say this about fans, I say this about the interwebs, right? The internet itself, social media, it makes it tough to be a fan of something because there's people who care deeply about some other issues in our world and they like to bring it into our fandom. And it's no fun. It's no fun at all. But we're going to talk about Star Wars. We're going to bring in some guests. Again, I've got Nerd Mafia. Where are you? Where'd you go? It says you're here. There you are. Hey, I don't see you on. Hold on one second. It's catching up. Something's going on. It's probably me. You all see Nerd Mafia? I see me, and then I see a big red spot over here. I don't see him.
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Where are you? I'm going to hide you and bring you back. Wait. Yeah. I'm bringing you back. Hide. Where is he? Your screen's black, Nerd Mafia. Like, I bring you back. Yeah, your screen is black. Can we hear you if you talk? Oh, he's gone. He'll be back. No, he'll be back. Real Ben. Yeah, my here we go. He says, social media is the exact replication of the scene when Kenobi is telling Luke about the hive of scum and villainy. Amen, brother. It is the hive of scum and villainy. Social media, absolutely. The Sabersmith, I think I'm too positive for people. So a lot of times I get pushed out because of that. You know, I've talked about this before where, hey, there he is. There he is. I see you.
I let like at least 20.
No, I think fans do get pushed out of this community because of the stuff that goes on around it. Not because of the community itself, but because of the stuff goes on around it. They try to dip their toe into the fandom and they come online and they're like, hey, I want to talk to other people who love the thing that I love. And they get on there and they find out there's a lot of people who hate the thing you love and who are absolutely furious about the thing you love. And they're like, okay, I'm out. And so I've met people like that. But Nerd Mafia, thank you for joining. Oh, let's start right at the top. Oh, you didn't make the list.
No.
No.
It's been a rough few series here for the good old Nerd Mafia predictions. But I'm in the hunt.
Well,
I'm in the hunt. You got 18.
Part of it is
right there.
Part of it is you insist on having fun with it. So, and that's good. And some of your predictions are just hilarious, and I have a lot of fun with them. And you do a great job of it. But you didn't make the list on the predictions. But what did you think of the show?
So, like watching it live, I was watching with my wife, and like there's parts of it we were watching not even on like a 4K screen like you were talking about, but just watching it on a regular Philips or whatever cheap TV I got in my bedroom. Like I was kind of taken aback. It almost like it's Star Wars, but it almost had like a Star Trek vibe to me. It was kind of weird like that. And then my wife at one point after Osha is brought in and she's talking with like the main Jedi, she actually stopped me during it and she's like, I feel like I'm watching a Power Rangers show right now. Like just the dialogue and like just the scenery. It just kind of like it kind of felt like that. Like I wasn't completely taken out of it. I'm not like over the moon for it, but at the same time I don't hate it. I'm just kind of like, okay. And then you know, when we got into this kind of being led to believe it was going to be like a murder mystery, but they told us who the murderer is right off the bat. So I'm kind of confused in that regard. I mean, obviously we can go into that more detail, but
yeah, there's two things where I completely agree with you. Like the first time I was watching it, the Zygerian Padawan, I was like, she looks too much like a Ferengi. Like if you know some Star Trek.
I think really all the makeup is a little weird, but
now look, a Zygerian, it's Star Wars. That's been around for a while. There's slavers and blah blah blah. Great. For the most part, of course, she is a Padawan. She's studying to be a Jedi. But I was like, she looks odd, right? There was something off for me that made it seem Star Trek-y. The other thing is this Pip droid, right? The Pip droid is too much like a tricorder or something that Star Trek
literally yelled at my screen when she said, "Hey, Pip." I'm like, no. Like, I thought this would be the one, like Leslie Headland was do something different. Like that was the first sign my predictions weren't going to go well. Like right at the beginning. I was like, why are you mad? I'm like, these damn prediction.
That's right. That's the thing about the predictions game is it allows folks to have no skin in the show to care, right? And I know that many of us have been burned before, where like they would not mention Palpatine, and 3 minutes into the show, they've mentioned Senator Palpatine or Chancellor Palpatine or whatever. You're like, dadgummit.
Well, the other thing with the predictions that's cool is like as a content creator, when you're like striving for something to talk about, because especially when you're doing a solo, just talking by yourself, like, oh, I know, I'll go over Santa's predictions not live on stream. Like I've seen Sheev do it, like I've done it, and it's like, so we're basically endorsing you as we're giving ourselves something to do while we're on the stream.
Well, it's good. Well, and I think you borrowed it to cover some Marvel stuff as well. The format.
I got to get back to that. That was fun when we did that. I mean,
it's a fun thing to do, and I stole it. Right, it's not my idea. I think I stole it from Adam Fanjecture, a concept I saw him do, and then I was like, oh wait, I think if I take this and I do this to it, I can make this work. And then of course you stole it from me, and I don't mind at all. I love it because it helps us engage with one another. Right.
Adam has some awesome ideas. He just doesn't stick with them. And it's like,
I loved
his original show when it was on Pen and Nerds, and then it was gone. I'm like, what are you doing? I would stop everything I'm doing to watch this. And now you're like, oh,
Me
the
too.
format's not good. It's like,
Me too.
no,
And I got really excited every morning. It'd be the first show that I would watch as I'm like logging in. I'm getting ready for work. I'm doing my job, answering email. I would have Fanjecture on, listening to him talk about whatever the entertainment news was, or even playing some ridiculous video game, whatever. Right.
Well, it was like you're watching it and you want to, it's almost like you're watching like Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy. Like you want to be a contestant on there. So when you had other people going at each other and then it being voted on, like in the chat, it's like, I want to do this so bad. Like, get me, I was like begging him to let me be on it.
Yeah, I got to be on a couple of times. It was fun. KG has touched base on a couple of things there. So I agree with you in the chat. Thank you, Kay. But she, the Star Trekkiness of it hit me the first time I watched it. When I was watching it live.
I feel like they should either like do it more CGI for these characters or do it more old school, like original trilogy. Make it look like kind of sloppy, like just the way it looks right now. It's weird. It just feels like Star Trek. Like
I can follow that. I can follow that.
It's not even just this show too. Like I kind of felt like that watching Ahsoka too. With Hera to be precise.
There's something else that I was kind of just the first time I watched it, kind of telling myself is there is a distinct difference between Star Wars movies and Star Wars TV. And I can clearly see the difference of whatever it might be. Right? I don't care if it's Mandalorian, Ahsoka, or Acolyte. I can clearly see the difference between them. And it's something where it's like, do I just need to put my mind in a framework of I'm watching Star Wars TV as a separate category?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that the way to deal with it?
I mean, you can get around it if the story's just good enough. You just kind of, all right, well, this is what it is.
Yeah. And Real Ben's touching base on something. He says, I know it makes sound like a 30-year-old yelling at clouds, but I really believe Star Wars should be in theaters. This TV stuff is fine, but it belongs in theaters. Let me ask you a question. And I gave this to Baymax because he was grumbling a little bit with me in DMs, and we were going back and forth. I think that the idea of live action shows needs to be put on pause. Just stop. Quit doing it. It worked great for the pandemic. Mandalorian is proof, like it completely launched the platform. It became a cultural zeitgeist. Like it's huge to this day, still huge. And I guess there's an argument to be said that that's because of the writing. The characters was fantastic.
Right.
But even Mandalorian coming out of the pandemic, it fell off and people were getting grumpy about it. And I think some of that is the writing for sure. But it's the same creators. It's not like all of a sudden they handed it over to somebody else. But Star Wars animation on Disney Plus is fantastic. Either you're into animation or you're not, right?
Right.
And if you're into it,
Marvel animation, this like X-Men 97 was amazing. So
yeah, good point.
Not just Star Wars,
Yeah, no, really good point. And it's the live action stuff that's causing people some disassociation, right? Either it's like, this doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, something's like the pacing may be off. And I was thinking about this too. I've watched a lot of reviews of the Acolyte. There's a lot of people saying, well, it's going too fast. I don't have time enough with these characters. But then you watch other shows like Andor or something. It's going too slow. Let's move this thing along.
I think with this show, watching it in real time, you're going to have to just like phase out the noise because there's a lot of people that are just predispositioned to not like the show already. And maybe that's warranted. I don't know. We'll find out after the longevity of it, you know. But there's a lot of talking about what episode 3 is going to be and whatever. You know, I'll judge it on what it is by the end of it.
So I think Meg covered it really well today in her video, because there is a lot of noise out there around this upcoming episode 3, right?
Yeah.
What is it going to be, right?
Well, sounds like you know about it already. So
I know a little bit about it. I don't know the whole thing, right? I can't go into too much detail, but before episode 1, when I was in Kansas City, somebody contacted me and said, "Hey, I got the rundown on the screeners. Here's what's going to happen." Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And it was a conversation that lasted less than 10 minutes. It was high level. It was not like shot for shot, detail for detail. Didn't reveal all the story points and, you know, everything on episode by episode, but rather, this is what it's about. We've got these twins. The twins' names are Osha, and like all the stuff we already learned,
right?
Like before the episode started. That's basically what I heard, right? And I was like, okay, cool, got it. I've watched a ton of videos from other folks. In this episode 3, Matt Risman says it's going to certainly be something people talk about. I'm sure it will, but I agree with Meg, because I don't know the full details. Right? I don't. I'm not lying. I'm just telling you
about it.
I haven't seen it, but I've watched a ton of videos from people who have seen it, who have given there's an embargo, what they're allowed to talk about, what they're not.
Right.
But there is one video specifically, and I posted part of it on Meg's server yesterday in a discussion with Matt, where the guy said episode 3 was his favorite of the 4 that he watched. A lot of people saying, no, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be absolutely. And as KG says, context matters. And I've just seen some other things that people have posted saying it's going to blah, blah, blah. And it's a whole range of things. But I think Meg nailed it. I think we're going to a flashback scene. This is what I've been told as well. Episode 3 is a flashback. So great. Episode 3's flashback. That leads me to think it's in the trailer where we see the Night Sister mother lady and the guy whose eyes go black. And
okay, that makes more sense now. See, now you can't make that a prediction question. What are you doing?
I know. Look, I'm being fair, right? I'm sharing what I know. So if that's the scene, right, the one that we've seen in the trailers, we got this Coven of Witches. And I did a show with our friend Will Morgan from Meta Egg.
Yeah.
And Will noticed in one of the stills from that trailer that the other like Coven members standing around are holding bows, much like the Night Sisters and their bows that they have. So if this is an all-female clan, coven, whatever you call them, community, you've got a matriarchal head. And from what we've heard, and it was in episode 1, I think the matriarch is a lesbian, has a wife kind of thing. It is what it is. It's all women. Think Amazons. You know?
That's why they're all saying Star Wars is gayer than who cares?
Who cares? Right. But think Amazonians. Right. They have this female culture. They've got this matriarchal kind of thing. It seems, and you know, with the archers and all that. So I get the same sort of image. And also from Star Wars lore, we have the Night Sisters.
Right.
Sisters. It's all women kind of thing. And if those that coven, that group, that whatever, have and Meg said this word, and I thought it was great, like Mother Nature, you know, we're familiar with that term. If what they see the Force as is a female entity of some sort, right? The way that they interact with the Force is from a female group with a female kind of lore around their society, and that the Force is female, right? I've heard people say that that Kathleen Kennedy, she's making the Force female. Well, that might be the case, right? We very well in episode 3 may get a Mother Nature kind of view of the Force. Seems
Different
natural to me.
Looking at different things. Who cares?
Yeah,
Is that really that
remember,
controversial?
I posted this on Twitter. Like, remember the Ewoks? They worshipped 3PO, the golden droid, right?
Right.
Maybe you've got a group that worships cats, lost cats, and so the Force for you is feline. I don't know. What's it matter, right? It's how you interact with the Force. Whether the Force is fire, it's light, it's female, it's loft cats. Who cares? It's still the same thing. And I don't think it's worth getting so worked up about it if it's a female coven who have this Mother Nature kind of view of the Force.
I mean, let's see what the overall story arc actually is, you know.
As KG said, context matters, right?
Yeah, and going back to what you're saying about you think they should get away from TV and get more so to movies. I mean, I think there just needs to be more of a blend. You know, like during COVID, I think that was a perfect time and opportunity for like them and Disney as a whole to just throw out whatever they wanted to try. You know, I mean, Marvel is just coming off of like probably the best peak of like any studio, just how they kind of changed the industry. You know, they took over, bottom line, like after Endgame. So it's like, you know what? We're going to do some stuff we want to do now. And I think a lot of that, and just like the amount of stuff they put out on Disney Plus to try to like, they seeing that was the future in their eyes, which is a totally wrong time to like kind of predict things when everything was skewed because of COVID. I think Chapek probably just gave the order to like, hey, quantity, push out as much as you can now, keep making money. And you can sense now that the Iger's back in, and the quantity or the quality over quantity whole debate is out now. It's like, no, like put things out with a purpose. So we might not even totally feel the effects on that for a year or two, but I think as long as you just dial it back a little bit, put out shows that are actually like you think are good instead of just like experimental TV, which I even The Mandalorian I think was an experiment and it just happened to work. You know,
sure was.
Yeah, like WandaVision, like nobody ever made any kind of series like that. It was crazy and it was fun, you know. And then some of the other things got a little out of hand. So I don't think the answer is get rid of it on TV. I think it's an awesome way to keep people hyped, but just target what you're actually going to put out. Like make sure it's like a good idea. Like look at what HBO is doing with Game of Thrones. They had like how many different ideas they shot down. Like, nope, that's not good enough. Nope, that's not good enough. You know,
I like what you're saying. Like there's the Netflix model that is just a shotgun approach, right?
Yeah.
Netflix just puts out volume. There's a ton of trash on Netflix, unwatchable, terrible stuff. But every now and then they hit something that is absolute gold, right? And they just keep going. And then people get frustrated because something that gains popularity will all of a sudden be cut because there's no plan to move forward, and things that nobody's watching get additional seasons. It's like makes no sense. So I think you're onto something when you get into a platform like Disney Plus, where they have these franchises, Marvel and Star Wars. And if they're going to do this partnership with HBO Max, which we've heard about, like this summer, they'll go package Max together.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I kind of like the idea of that, where you would end up with DC, Marvel, and Star Wars together.
They're not really like blending. They're just like giving you another way to like purchase it. It's like might lose, they might lose a little bit of money, but now they get more people in because it's all bundled together. So it's harder.
I like it. It's in one package, right? It might be, like you said, you still have to go to Max to watch the Max stuff. But
Marvel DC actually did have some comics where they went at each other back in the day. Like,
I remember. I remember the crossovers.
Yeah, it was fun. But no, I think speaking selfishly as like some of the I don't even know if I still call myself a content creator because I don't put out enough stuff right now. But having the shows gives people something to talk about. It gives us something to be into as a viewer, because the movies come out like maybe once a year or maybe once every 6 years if you're Lucas TV. I'm not calling them Lucas Films anymore until they put out a movie. You know,
Nice.
I like having that as an option, but give me something that I'm actually going to care about instead of like, don't half-ass it, you know, like treat it like it's dessert. Like I think Andor, like hate it or love it, you can see that they put the work into it and they took it seriously what they were doing, you know. And then you look at other projects, not so much, you know. So
Words 789. He said, I heard there's an overweight Jedi in the Acolyte. It's a Padawan, but yes, there is an overweight Padawan in the Acolyte, episode 2. And there's also an overweight Padawan in the High Republic novels. You go back to Ram Jamarin. He's a character. He's a techie guy. He's not necessarily good with a lightsaber. He's not really all that powerful with the Force, but he can fix stuff, and he can fix stuff really, really fast. He can use a lightsaber. He can use the Force. That's not his strength, right? So Ram Jamarin, he's a heavier set kid, and he is a Padawan. Same here. We see this Padawan in episode 2 who's overweight, and he's got these the monocle thing he's looking through, monocular, whatever you call that device. He's looking through. It gave me very strong Ram Jamarin feels. He says, I'm glad I'm finally represented as a fat man, right? That I keep seeing he's called the Fatawan, right? Fatawan. Look, I'm not into body shaming, and I get what people are saying, like Jedi, Padawan. They're heavily trained, athletic kind of folks. They ought to be in shape. We've never seen a heavier set Padawan Jedi through George Lucas's Star Wars. Why all of a sudden are we getting this? It seemed odd to me in the High Republic novels, but at the same
they'd
time,
be more disciplined as Jedi.
yeah, but that's true too. In being of a monastic kind of order, they wouldn't necessarily have resources to that others might. So whatever.
When's the last time you saw a Jedi eat anything?
Right. Well, I mean, in the prequels, you know, Anakin did that a couple times. Oh my goodness. So
think about it. The only time we even see Luke drink something is before he's a Jedi and after he's cut himself off from the Force.
Yeah. There's something else you mentioned earlier, and it ties into what Matt Risman's saying here. It says Meg did a good video, good job in her video today. Episode 3 will be around how the Witch Coven views and interacts with the Force, like the Force is female kind of thing. I totally think that's what it's going to be, as well as the genesis of the twins. This seems to be, you mentioned earlier about the mystery kind of revealed at the front end. And the show, as I've been listening to different people talk about it and been thinking about it more, it does seem odd that some of the reveals were just handed to us on a platter, and not at all suspended.
Right.
And that seems to be the case here. We're going to go right into what this event was. Right now, that's the thing. Like, what was the event? What happened? Who died? Who didn't die? We thought May was dead, but she's not dead. Well, May thought that Osha was dead, but she ain't dead. How did this happen? Well, we're going to get it like right away. We don't have to wait for that. And it does seem that the timing and how they're releasing these things seems premature. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, but so like that's my initial reaction to it, right? But then when you think about it more, it almost seems like once they pull back one layer, another one pops up. You know, so at first we figure out like, oh, she didn't kill her, it was her sister. And then it's like, okay, but why is her sister still alive? And then all right, somehow her sister didn't die, but what actually happened there that night? So they just keep going further. And I got a feeling, I mean, that's actually a good way to set up a series. Like, you keep pulling back a layer of the onion every episode. And that's what we did so far in the first two. And then they have an overarching one too. It's like, who is this guy in the Venom mask? And, which I think we already know. They pretty much gave it up already.
You think?
It's the 100%. It's the guy that makes the Buntafor. There's no chance it's not.
I think you're wrong. I think you're right. And Meg says the same thing. You share the same opinion as Meg. Meg said 99%. That's who it is.
Absolutely. We hear. Look, she meets with the guy at one time, and he lectures her about the Jedi from his mask. She meets with this guy, and he lectures her about the Jedi. And you could see just like a little twinkle in his eye when he's like, "Well, he actually wants you to not use a weapon." And then she's like, "Let's keep that between me and you." That's foreshadowing right there. Like, it's him.
Well,
100%.
Let me read a quote. It comes from the actor who plays this.
Because he's going to tell you the truth.
Well, look, I get it, right?
I already know what you're referencing, but go ahead for the people.
Actors lying. Oh, that's never happened. Yeah, it happens every single time. Yeah. All right, I get it.
I'll let you read it. My bad, but I know what you're talking about.
Every show, actors lie. That's what they do. They're really good at it. But here we go. The quote. They're trying to introduce these characters. Who are you playing? What are they about? And they're going through the cast and they say stupid things like Anakin blew up the Death Star. Whatever. Who cares? But they don't know nothing. But it's fine. So this actor plays Camille. He says, with Camille, the guy we're talking about, it's very much, he comes from a selfish standpoint. Oh, that fits, right? But he says, he's not really about the Jedi, not really about the Sith, but it's more so who he can use to his advantage in order to survive. That's the quote. Not about the Jedi, not about the Sith. It goes on. He goes on to say a little bit more. He says, everyone just wants to survive. How does a regular person survive in a world where you have the Jedi in power, but also the Sith lurking? Camille is having to constantly watch his back. How do you weasel your way through this adventure and mission? It's an interesting character to play and a fun one because they don't necessarily have to abide by the rules. Ooh, not abiding by the rules. It says pretty malleable, and you never know where he'll end up by the end of the story. Dun, dun, dun. So
I'm not the werewolf. I swear, I'm not the werewolf. Andrew Garfield in my head. It's him. It's definitely him.
I don't think it's him. I don't think it's him.
Do you remember did you ever watch like the Scream movies? Like
no, I don't watch horror movies. And I'll tell you, I was going to mention this in episode 1, where Osha meets her sister as like a forced connection they have there. Her sister's not really there. It's a younger version of her sister. And then she runs through the snow and all of that.
Yeah.
It creeped me out because there was the scene where her eyes were black and all that. I was like, oh, Santa doesn't do well with that. So no, I've not watched the Scream movies.
So the lesson I learned watching those is, besides being like horrified because I was not even a teenager yet, but every single time you watch one of those movies, if you go back, it's always the killer is like the very first person you suspect. And in this show, you don't suspect May of being it because she's not wearing the mask. She'd be married. You know what I mean? The very first guy I actually have a suspicion of is that dude. The very first one. Not who the Jedi suspect, like as the viewer, who's the very first person you suspect. And more times than not, when you're watching like murder mysteries like that, it's the first person. And then they try to deter you away from it and like shine the light on somebody else. But it's this guy, I promise you.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah, we try to make it way too obvious just to like make it seem like, no, it couldn't be that guy. That'd be way too obvious. No, that's the guy. Like,
yeah, I don't think so. I like Eli's position here, right? So it's fair to have different opinions of things, right? And he says, I'm just taking a break from caring about Star Wars. And if you haven't been following Eli in the chat, right, he's not enjoying the Disney era Star Wars so much. Right. Yeah. For the most part, that's basically Eli's point here. Maybe I'm sugarcoating it a little bit, but just kind of put it in that. It goes, says couldn't care less, right? But like I have enough of it in real life to keep my mind busy. Glad George's movies are always there anytime I need them, like during COVID. Yeah. You know what? The Disney era might not be for you. And I don't have to watch the prequels, except every time my daughter says, "Hey Dad, let's watch Star Wars." Guess what she puts on? She makes me watch those daggone prequels again. And then she gets tired and she leaves. I'm like, we just got to the good ones. She goes, "Nope, I'm done." I'm like,
I just took my kids to see Phantom Menace in the theaters, and they were loving that.
Hey, Griff, thank you for supporting the channel for such a long time. I truly appreciate it. 9 months of membership. Thank you, sir.
Real Ben said there's a Funko Pop of this guy. The Premier guy.
Of who?
Camille.
Yeah, they released Funkos of like all the characters. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't think it's him. I don't think it's Camille at all.
Sounds like a bet. I'm just saying. Sounds like we need a bet.
It does sound like a bet. But I hate to abuse you more. I abuse you every week in the predictions when I'm right and you're wrong, and then it just seems like piling on.
Didn't we bet on something before? Oh, damn it! Oh, I just brought that up. I said that Omega would be dead. What did we bet? I have to go back on that. I remember I bet something with you. It was like a long-term one, and I forgot what we bet. I lost some BS.
Yeah. So Eli says, I like what Nerd Mafia was saying about the show. It looks like Star Trek. It really does. I don't care if it's because of the 4K digital shot. It's not like that on the film like the movies were on his TV. Eli, the only example that I give, because I experienced it myself, was going back and watching Rogue One on my TV. It looked like fake sets. Like it just looked terrible. And it really threw me off because I did not remember the sets looking so terrible, especially on Scarif.
For me, it wasn't really the sets, though. It was just like the characters and just like, it just seemed it. And I think it's just the characters and makeup, like I said, because I felt that way. I said the same thing when I was looking at Ahsoka, too. Like the commercials at first. So,
yeah, if Carrie was alive, she'd be back on the female thing for sure. Well, when I don't want to get too far into it. I want to stick with the content. We've been doing a really good job sticking with the content. But look, these actors and writers and stuff, they are way left of me politically and more active with the social justice stuff than I'll ever be. I'm not. I don't care at all for what they've been doing with the DEI stuff, the diversity, equity, inclusion. It annoys me, and I can see it in every single show I watch. I don't like it.
I mean, it's kind of like what you said the other day. Like it's part of all media now. But at the same time, like I don't mind it. I mean, you shouldn't have to mind. It's just including different people. Yeah, that's fine. Just don't make it like the purpose, like you're doing it, like wedging it in there.
Right?
Like you're not. Like everybody here, like that I've seen, like it's not impacting the story. They're not doing anything just to do it,
Right. But on social media, there's been, and Real Ben shared some stuff on Twitter yesterday. I was watching. There have been some terrible things said in interviews, and it's got people riled up. And
how
it's
you
not
get
a way to
bring riled up? Just stop feeding into that. Like, I don't care.
There you go. Well
like
said.
Leslie, I heard that interview with Leslie Headland and I don't even know who else. Kathleen Kennedy. I didn't read it. I don't care that much what they have to say. Like, I mean, how many times we got to read one of their like articles or they say stuff in their interviews and like just get annoyed by them to be like, I don't care what you have to say anymore. Like you're not providing me anything productive. So
no, you're exactly right.
Like you said, just stop talking. You're not doing anything to help your stories at all. It's not even entertaining to me anymore. Like I get more out of watching Esmond. I definitely butchered his name. The guy that played Ezra in live action being shocked that he was on the cover of Empire. Like, I take more out of that. I'm like, that's more fun to, like, interact with him on social media.
Agreed. Joseph, hello. How are we doing? It's good to see you. Thanks for finding the channel. Thanks for stopping in to say hi. Real Ben says, yeah, Star Wars public relations and marketing's a dumpster fire. They're making it worse. Just tell them to stop talking about that stuff. And here's the other problem. You got Leslie Headland, who is a lesbian, and she's, and I don't care, but she's a lesbian and she's very active in the social justice.
I read that the Jedi Grand Master is actually her wife.
Yes. Right.
I was putting it in your chat the other day where you're like, why is she bald? I'm like, she probably just wanted to mess with her wife and make her bald. Shave her head.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm going to paint you green and make you bald.
Mess with me now.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Like she lost a bet. Like they wouldn't pick dinner. What? All right, fine. I'll get even. I'm going to paint you green and make you bald. How you like that? Hilarious. But this is Pride Month, and they're going to these outlets and they're talking about that social activist stuff, and they're relating it back. So you're going to end up with this stuff, the noise, right? Just disconnect from it. You said it really, really well. I appreciate that. All right, it's a dumpster fire. What else we got? Let's see. Yeah, Vernestra's makeup looked terrible. Unfortunately, people forget on social media that we still have varying opinions. Yes, we do. And then I saw Star Wars Fits. He gave us a €5. I think this is it's this the Shiba dog given the number 1. So thank you for that, Fits. Oh, speaking of Fits, and I think this we'll have a monthly YouTube or a Zoom call on Monday. This coming Monday, he normally asks me about that, and so this coming Monday, we will have for all of our channel members and our patrons. We do a monthly call where we get on Zoom. We talk about things we can't talk about online. I've got a couple of things as it relates to this this show that we could talk about, and then we just get to hang out, talk about what's going on in your life, where you're taking vacation, what do you like, what do you don't like, whatever it is.
Speaking of that, I need a heads up when the Ghost Crew one is available, so I can make like 20 dummy snow or elite member accounts. Up my odds. I'll put $500 into that just so I can get the damn. I was really mad they dropped that as I was buying my new house. That got me so mad. I was looking at like, I can buy this right now. My wife was actually like, "You should have just got it." I'm like, I couldn't.
Well, I'll tell you what.
They were watching my credit card. You know,
I did this deal. I did this deal with X-Wing on the Razor Crest. I bought 2 of them. One of them is a channel giveaway. I sold the other one to. I actually bought 3 of them. I still have one, but to sell. But I bought 3 of them. One of them was to keep and 2 to sell. For the Ghost, I bought 2 of them. One was to do as a giveaway. The other was I'm not sure about. Right? Maybe I'm going to keep it. Maybe I'm going to get rid of it. I'm not sure. But here's the thing.
Tell me that.
I'll put your name on it. I'll put your name on it. And if I'm not going to keep it, I'll sell it to you for price, no profit.
If I don't win it.
If you don't win it. There you go. If you don't win it,
so I will rig that game. Like if you give me a heads up, there'll be my wife will have an elite member account. My nephew, everybody will.
Right.
Alter ego.
And Joseph's right. The problem with DEI is forcing it into the story rather than being a natural progression of the story itself.
Yeah, and honestly, the people that are concerned and want representation, I would think that's what they actually want too. To be naturally involved, like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to talk about this without.
No, you're right.
Messed up too. By accident.
You're exactly right, and this is a great way to do it. If you've got a witches' coven, it's all women, like the Night Sisters or whatever. It naturally fits that you would have some lesbian relationships in there. Like it's a natural progression of the story. Who cares?
Let me be very clear, very clear. I have zero issues with lesbians being in any show.
Right? Yeah, me neither. It's just when they're terrible characters.
Yeah. No,
Right?
yeah, exactly. When you make a carrier, when it feels like you manufactured a carrier just to be somebody of diverse, it's like, what are we doing? Like,
Right.
like they have no part really in the story. It's like, this is all right.
Is the Razor Crest more valuable now that it went kablooey? No, no, it's not. And a lot of people. So what happened with the Jabba sail barge, which was the first one, is the prices went through the roof. Prices went through the roof on these things, and so when the Razor Crest came about, people bought extra because they saw the profit opportunity. If this does the same thing the sail barge did, I'm going to make a mint. Well, now there's the market, there's plenty of them to buy. So the price on them is slightly above what they sold for. Like they sold in that $500 range. You might be able to get 800 out of them. So you might make 100 or two, but you're not going to get sail barge money out of them. So yeah. And then I think Kay also said something there. Says DEI is ridiculous. Right? That being said, fair representation matters. Inaccurate representation is pandering. I mentioned this before. Like I watch The Amazing Race, and I watch all kinds of different shows. The Amazing Race is my favorite. Like, what is that, competition kind of reality TV kind of thing? And every season for a long time, they would bring in the token gay couple, right? It'd be lesbians or gay men, whichever, right? It didn't matter. But they would be terrible people, right? They're unlikable. They were just absolutely despicable humans.
Well, it's reality TV. They're just feeding into the drama that's already existing.
But look, if you're going to bring on a token gay couple, then make them likable so that people will at least relate to them, right? Be like, oh, this person's relatable. This person has characteristics I admire. This person has like the kind of competitive drive that I would hope to have myself. Those kind of things. Don't put somebody on there that's just absolutely unwatchable, right? So make them compelling humans. So that's what they need to do in these shows too. If you're going to put in DEI, make them compelling characters. Make sure you get the best actors. Make sure that the roles are something that people are drawn to and aren't weaponizing, right? And that's what's happening right now is people are just weaponizing them.
So like, a couple things on that too. Like as far as reality TV shows go, I know like with MTV, I feel like started with it with like The Real World. That's always been there. Like they represented like as many people as they could in those shows, like in at least that like platform, but I think the reason really that there's nothing really wrong with it. Just the outrage and like and nobody in humanity reacts well to change, right?
Right.
And a lot of people that watch TV, like from millennials and older, aren't used to this, So that's why there's a big deal made out of it, and it won't stop being a big deal. So people just stop making a big deal out of it. Like it's just it's life, So, but call a spade if it's uninteresting, or you feel like you're being like when the audience feels like they're being hoodwinked at any point in time, like describe, like you're just shoving a character in here. It's like that's not natural. Like what are we doing?
Right.
Like I think we all just need to get in that vein. Otherwise, it's coming out and be like DEI is stupid. It's like, all right, well, like calm down, Well,
what you do is you take away any kind of objectiveness that you try to have, right? So anybody that just comes out and says, I hate the DEI and all the diversity characters are trash. Well, nobody's going to believe that the character's trash because you've already given your bias.
Exactly. Yeah.
And some of those are terrible people saying those things. Right? They're not good people. Yeah. And they're coming in with very bad motives. And am kind of tearing into these franchises. Just look, are the characters good or the characters not good? And so Ben tries to bring us back on topic. He says, "So is that master?" So there's two questions. I think KG called it Darth Zipperface. Hilarious. Hilarious. But he says, is the master going to be that character, or is the character an acolyte? So that's a good question.
I don't think that's a master. I think that's an apprentice. So
The masked character, right? Is that the Sith master, or is that a Sith apprentice? Always two there are, except during the stupid Darth Plagueis book. Then no, they got rid of the rule of two. And there's other apprentices. But in any event, is Darth Zipperface a master, or is he an apprentice, or is he not neither?
So no, I think it's an apprentice, and you could see the way they're manipulating May, like right from the jump, just describing why an acolyte doesn't have a weapon. He's not saying because you're not allowed to really be my apprentice and this is the only way I can get you to do my bidding. He's saying because that strikes more fear to the Jedi, killing them without a weapon. He's like basically being like, hey, why don't you go see if you could take them out so I don't have to? He's just having somebody else do his bidding for him. But I think the real question is, why does this guy want the acolyte to be killing these specific people? So is it someone tied to this specific event as well? It's like that's
Right.
something to keep you. Like if I'm wrong and it's not this Khmer guy, who else there would actually have anything at stake? And how would he even know May's alive? How would he? He or she.
Very good question.
Know what this guy is.
Very good question. How would May end up attached to them to begin with? Great questions. Absolutely fantastic questions, and it leads to some fun speculation as well. So, is it a Sith even? Right. So I initially had this theory that it was a Ren. Right.
Yeah,
so
that's just you on your sequel stuff.
Well, Matt Risman actually sent me a really good picture of this guy's helmet in profile, and Kylo Ren's helmet in profile, and it's the same template. The helmet, like the back of it, there's a crease. The crease is in the same spot. It's got a little flare on it. The flare is in the same spot. The front of the mask is what's different. So, like from the top of the helmet back, there's the same helmet. It's just the front that's different.
Well, could be a combination of things there, right? So one, they needed something to model it off of. And being that the last major product where they have like up-to-date props are Kylo Ren's helmet, could be what the creators and designers based it off of.
Sure.
But two, what is Kylo Ren's helmet largely based off of? His grandfather, Darth Vader, who's the Lord of the Sith. So, go either way there.
His helmet's not like, if you look at him in profile, they're not so similar, but you're right. I mean, he admired his grandfather, but you go back to the Wrens, all of them have helmets and they're all stylized differently. So is it possible that there's this concern among fans that this show is going to break prequel era lore where the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years, but except if they were around 100 years ago? Like, what's the deal? Are these Sith? And how are we going to work around that? One way to work around it is that they're not Sith at all. So the guy in the mask could be a Ren. That's a possibility. I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. The other thing it could be is, what if it's not a dude? What if it's another survivor, like one of the mothers from the Coven, who is now wearing the mask to hide whatever disfiguration from having her skin partially melted off, or obscure her identity, using the face modulation to sound male while being female? That could all be a misdirection, right? It could. How would May be tutored under this masked figure? Well, if they already knew her, right? If the mother survives. She puts on, she comes up with this other persona, and then brings May in to continue teaching one of her daughters, one of her clan. Maybe. Again, I don't think it's likely, but it's a possibility, right? It gets us away from it being a Sith. What if it's not a Sith?
See, I'm kind of thinking it is a Sith. And I think you're getting hints already of how it can go still like unknown to the Jedi 100 years later, because just look at the way they're handling like the Jedi murders already. Like Vernesha's already like just showing like almost like she's kind of sus. She's like, oh, this can't get public. Like they're playing politics already. This is to show like when they start heading towards like the prequel era Jedi, like towards their demise, because they're more concerned about politics than they are just doing what's right and just bringing whoever killed a Jedi to justice. And they're only letting a select few Jedi know about this even occurring, right? And then on top of that, do we know if Vernesha's even going to survive this, whatever's going down? Like
we don't know.
Yeah.
Vernestra, no, we don't.
And then also, like, if this is an apprentice, I think you guys did the math and you saw like this could be Darth Tenet, the master of Plagueis, right? This could be like his era of being a Sith Lord. This could be the apprentice to him before Plagueis, or that just got offed at some point. So
so a couple things on that. One is I agree that it's most likely a Sith, like 90% sure that it's a Sith, right? And that goes back to Leslie Headland's interviews talking about it being Sith and apprentice. So she gave this hierarchy of the Sith has an apprentice. The apprentice has a understudy who is the acolyte. Right, so the acolyte is an understudy to an apprentice under the master. So that was given in episode 1. That masked figure on the island said something to the effect of an acolyte kills without a weapon, kind of thing. Right, so she's trying to kill a Jedi without using a weapon. She hasn't done it yet. She's got 2 more Jedi she wants to kill. One is the Wookiee, and the other is Soul. Right? She wants to kill both of them, and she needs to kill one of them without a weapon, or both. Right? So that's what she's after. Real Ben, he touched base on something I had forgotten, but about David Harewood. If you've watched DC, you'll know that he was the Martian Manhunter in different shows in the DC universe on Supergirl and in Arrow, I think. Okay. And maybe Flash, I'm not sure. So anyway, he played the Martian Manhunter. If you've watched that, you need to know who he is. He's a British actor, black guy with really big ears. Right? So that's David Harewood. He could very well be this masked character, and he could be. The issue with Darth Tenebrous is if you stick with canon or with EU, you go with that Plagueis novel, and who Plagueis was supposed to be, you end up with an age issue with him. If this is 100 years before the Phantom Menace, we start to do some math on it, and Tenebrous met Palpatine, or he was around at the same time that that Tenebrous was around when Plagueis first met Palpatine and was going to take him on as an understudy. So Plagueis.
What do we know about Tenebrous's race, though?
Yeah, well, Tenebrous, he's a Biff, which are those figurine Dan, the modal Dans that are playing in the original trilogy in the bar, in the cantina. They've got these bulbous heads with tiny little whatever. So there's that. That's who they are. They have like human lifespans.
Okay.
And Palpatine met Plagueis when Palpatine was
this probably can't be Tenebrous then.
That's the problem, right? He would be so young, like he would be like, just to do the math, like how old was he when he met Palpatine? How old was Palpatine? Well, Palpatine, let's say he was 17, 18 years old. More likely he was 19 or 20. But even so, 20 is an easy number to work with. If he met him, and this is 100 years but before Phantom Menace, well, Palpatine's more than 20, right?
Right.
So you just start to do the math on it. Well, it ends up Tenebrous is like maybe 20, in his 20s. Would he be Darth Tenebrous at that point? Would he be the Sith Master in his 20s?
Could be apprentice. And that's
There you
what
go.
feeds into what we're talking
He
about.
could be an apprentice. Now, when you get to Plagueis, he's a moon. Moons, they live really, really long lives, hundreds of
But
years. So
here's the thing, though. So, like, even if it is him, then it doesn't make sense because that would mean that he has to win, like whatever confrontation they have, and then the Jedi have to explain that somehow.
right.
But the more likely outcome is that Vernestra keeps this all quiet, and doesn't tell the rest of the Jedi about this, and that's like how they start going down a darker path, or just kind of veering off who they are. So it might be just an apprentice before him, or that's probably they have a little. That might be why they did this time period, so they have a little bit more wiggle room to kind of play with it. So I don't know if we know. Do we know who was before Tenebrous, or we have it nothing?
We do. I can't remember the dude's name. And again, they could change it.
Yeah, because it's not really, it's EU, so it's not considered actual. They're making canon right now as we speak. So, I mean, I think this guy has to get defeated somehow. And they have to keep it quiet, because otherwise we need to know how Vernestra died. That would, everybody would know there was a Sith within 1,000 years if she dies to them. So, or they blame it on a Jedi.
So a lot of people are really worried about that. If the masked dude is a Sith, and a lot of people see him and they know that he's a Sith, then how does that all get covered up by the time we get to the prequels? And Real Ben just brought that up. I wasn't thinking that way with math.
So this is like 80, 85. I was wondering what you were talking about when you're saying he was like 20. I'm like, how is that possible?
Right. So, if it's 85 years before the Phantom Menace, and in the Plagueis novel, Tenebrous met him, let's say 15 years before the Phantom Menace, just work your way backwards. Like if he was, is he 60 years old? That'd make him like 75 at the time of the Phantom Menace. Like how old was he at the time? Like Tenebrous was still around. So like, how does this all work out? And
the other thing that would be weird though is Yoda's around during this time, and you see at the end of the Phantom Menace, he's like, always two there are. So if they kill one of these guys, they don't get the master. They have to keep it from even Yoda. So
well, Yoda keeps secrets. Yoda's a secret keeper. So, right. There's also word is that Yoda or Yaddle are not in this show at all.
Which might make sense down the road for why he doesn't know if there was a Sith. Well, I don't know. Vernestra basically already opened up the door to like, we're playing politics and we're keeping this quiet. We're not being truthful or open, Real Ben,
thank you so much, my friend. Have a good day. Enjoy time with your nieces. Have a good day. Yeah, Plo Koon. I saw real quick. Chillmonger. Plo Koon would definitely be around, and we know Dave Filoni loves his Plo Koon, so we could see that. We could definitely see that.
I think somebody thought they spotted him in the trailer. Like I don't know if it was you or somebody else I was watching. Thought they saw like a young one.
There's a lot of speculation. So there is a lot of fun things to speculate about the remainder of this season. You get away from all the nonsense going on in interviews and everything else. Who is the masked dude? Is this guy? What's his name again? Starts with a Q.
Kamir.
Is Kamir the guy in the mask? Maybe he is. Maybe he is.
Both in talking about girth and who the Sith is. I'm with Meg all the way.
No, I don't. I don't think it is. We'll have to have a friendly wager on it, though. There's definitely a wager on. This is set up perfectly for a wager.
He's a pretty notable actor as well, too. So why would you waste him on just some? I mean, the way he gave her up so quickly to the Jedi, and he just kind of manipulated his way out of that situation with almost untouched. And then also, you remember them talking too when they're like scouting him out, like in that shop. They're like, "We have a guy that deals with this, but this isn't our guy." You know, so he's been traveling around. He's not just from that place. And they basically say that he offers up the Bunta, which she says is native to her planet. So it would make sense that he was around her planet and saw this whole incident happen. Maybe that's how he, or maybe he's already.
Add more to it. And I was listening to the TRB. You know, he says his background came from working with the Hutts. And at the end, when we see the Wookiee Jedi guy, they're speaking Huttese outside of his place. And then he tells May, "Hey, I know where this guy is." Like maybe those Huttese guys were his scouts and gave him the information.
Always look for the first one you suspect and then watch them try to do sleight of hand to get you off the trail throughout the story. I'm telling you.
Or they keep making it look like this is the dude. This is the dude. This is the dude. This is definitely the dude until it's not the dude.
Burned by that was when I was watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Power Broker ended up being Sharon Carter, which really, it's a whole different story. I was like, you can't be serious. This is the most predictable thing ever. This is dumb. All right.
It's always dumb when it's not the person you think it should be. But I'm going to be right here. I'm just telling you. I'm going to be right.
Says she thinks he was more comedic relief. I mean, if you maybe that's the way they smoke screen you too. But if you listen to what he's saying, like throughout his scenes, he's 5 steps ahead of everybody else around him. Like he knows that's not May. He's quoting Sith lore to her, right? He's like talking about the Jedi and what they're. He's like basically guiding her. He even like guides her into using the poison. He's like, I don't know. He's telling her what her master wouldn't want her to do. Like he probably wouldn't want you using this. He wouldn't want you using a weapon. He's just letting her operate, like thinking he's not.
Matt Risbin said he seemed to have a little premonition that she was getting ready to attack him, and he dodged. So maybe he's got more force ability than he's letting on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is the guy. I'm telling you, I'm so convinced.
It's not the guy. I'll die on the hill. That's okay. I've been wrong before, and I had to put Steve's background here for it. So I'm willing to be wrong again. So we'll work out a friendly wager on this. It'll be fun.
I gotta go back and see what I owe you for Omega. It's gotta be like 2 years ago.
I don't remember. Right. Yeah, but I do remember you were like, she's gonna die, and but I don't know what the wager was. I have a Mike Porter dad joke, and Mike Porter did a really good job today as well. And he nailed it yesterday with the Vernestra Row reference. And today he's got another one. And he says, why is this highly respected Jedi Master fair and is full of compassion? So what Jedi Master would be fair and full of compassion? Well, one that has a good soul. Oh, he has a good soul. Oh, Mike Porter. Nice one. Good job. Oh, my goodness. Well, we've gone a bit long. We've gone a bit over an hour. Nerd Mafia, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to hang out with you. You're not in your car driving around. You're settled into your new studio, if that's what we want to call it.
Work in progress, but
yeah, it's a work in progress. You're getting it going. So good to see you, and hopefully you get back to doing some regular Nerd Mafia streams fairly soon.
Yeah, gotta get
Always
it
good to
going.
hang out with.
I have all these ideas for like shorts and videos, and I'm just like, I'm tired. So I got to get back into the group.
Understood. And tomorrow we'll do the Newsweek roundup. We'll see if Meg or Jason are available to join. And we're going to focus on toys, I think, as well as see what other news may come up. We've already talked about the Acolyte and start to give some more predictions about what is coming up in episode 3. And then I will be doing guesting again over on Meta Egg. Will Morgan has reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to join him on a stream tomorrow. So look for that information.
I got to reserve you now then. Keep the traditional act, 'cause I messed it up with Ahsoka. We flipped it. You want to do the finale for this one?
You missed it. We'll get it all worked out. I hear my work computer pinging me, so I'm gonna have to go. But thank you again, and let's work out the details on coming over and talk to. Yeah, I miss talking to that guy, so that'll be great.
All right. Gotta figure out time, so it'll probably be too late for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, my friend, and we'll see you soon. All right.
All right.
Take care. All right, everybody, thank you all for hanging out with me here today. I've had a great time talking Star Wars with you. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye.